Welcome to the Smash Jump Podcast, episode 4. This week we'll be discussing the GTA 6 pre-order and Ultimate Edition conversation, strikes at Quantic Dream in Paris, and more price hikes at Xbox. Then, we'll all take a look at some of our most anticipated indie titles, and finally, we'll review the new Star Fox remake with Joseph. Today, Dylan's not with us. I am joined by Joseph, Associate Editor.
Hello, how's it going?
And Francis, Contributor and Video Editor. Hey, Francis.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
So, guys, there's not really anywhere else to start except... this episode will be coming out mid-July, so slightly old news by then, but there's not really anywhere else for us to start except that GTA 6 pre-orders launched on June 25th, and there's been a few... Let's say there's been a conversation that's been happening around it. To get a few details out there, there is going to be a physical boxed release. There's no disc. Inside the box, there's going to be a digital redeem code, single use. Those box versions are going to drop a week before, so people can preload them on their consoles and PC. And the digital version will obviously drop on November 19th. The standard edition is going to be $80, £70. The Ultimate Edition is going to be $100 or £90. There's some clues as to what this game is going to be like, or some details based on the Ultimate Edition slideshow that's on Rockstar's website. You're going to get some water vehicles like kayaks and yachts. There's going to be hopefully some pretty sturdy weapon customization, scopes and grips, and I think there were some hints that Jason and Lucia are going to have separate loadouts. They have a whole exclusive mission, PTT Youngin's Illegal Goods Store. It's going to be kind of a gang hideout or a raid. Hopefully that's going to be a more common side mission across the game. And then you're also going to be able to fence stolen goods at certain shops. What's caused most of the controversy, apart from obviously the no disc release, has been what is locked behind the Ultimate Edition. Mostly shops, so like Ride Out Customs, Paradise Garage, and One-Eyed Willie's, vehicle shops, hair salons, tattoo parlors, clothing stores. Apparently these things, according to Rockstar's own text on their website, these things are going to be present in the world, but they are going to be locked. I haven't really heard about something like this before. Guys, with the kind of locked content and the no disc release, what are we thinking about GTA 6 as we get closer and closer to that November release date?
It's tricky because it feels like most of what you were saying for the Ultimate Edition was pretty sensible. All of the exclusive content that you would get for $20, it seems like a pretty reasonable deal. But then when you talk about the step backward from GTA 5 to GTA 6, where you're locking people out of certain kinds of shops and access to certain in-game content, once you give something, you can never really take it away and have it feel fair or reasonable. So I feel like this removal of certain types of in-game content that will be in the world, but just completely inaccessible to people, it's kind of nonsensical. It's a very strange decision. The other thing that's been conversed about is a big deal to some people and something that others just absolutely don't care about because they're all digital anyway, is this disc situation. There will be no disc, and I think this is part of probably a commitment to being able to keep things flexible on the presentation side, because GTA 6 has been in the works for a long time. They probably didn't even know what console they were going to come out on. Would they be able to come out on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One? Would they be Xbox Series and PS5 exclusive? Would they be on next gen once we started getting all these delays? We don't have next gen yet, but we're close enough that they're going to want an exclusive upgraded edition, or even just being able to run this game at a higher capability when next gen does come out. And I think this discless format is them basically saying, we're not going to waste the time burning these discs, because the second we do, it's next gen is going to come out. These discs are going to become key cards on your next system, because all it's going to be is a disc that doesn't have the upgraded content you want. So you're just going to be playing an upgraded version through the internet anyway, where the disc is just a key card. Let's just give you a digital code. That's pretty much how this is playing out, and I think it all has to do with the uncertainty and the time of release. They just committed to no discs.
I mean, there's been this is obviously kind of more of a trend industry-wide. There's been a couple examples of studios not going for a digital-only release. We were just talking about before we started recording. Alan Wake 2, Remedy did a digital-only for about a year. They did a digital-only release, then they released a disc when it was like financially viable for them. Obviously, Rockstar is not in that position. But kind of yeah. As an industry-wide trend, just I've got a couple of stats here. Over 50% of Xbox consoles that are owned are digital. Over 25% of PS5s. Nintendo, the way they're doing cartridges now, they're selling game key cards, which are not the full game on the cartridges. It is essentially an unlock for unlocking something on their digital storefront, and then you never need the cartridge again. So I mean, this is something that's kind of happening industry-wide, but I think it's not a great move, because I was playing Dave the Diver last week, and it came off PlayStation Plus, and I was suddenly, despite the fact that I had paid a monthly subscription to download this game, and I've been continuing to pay it, that game is now off my library, and I have to pay another £15 to play it again. I think without physical releases, we run the risk of never actually owning our games. We're just buying a mostly permanent license. I think it's kind of dangerous. And also, I just think it's a bad vibe in game GTA 6 to like walk up to a shop and then get presented with a PlayStation Store screen.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of immersion breaking. It's just kind of weird. I mean, Francis, what did you think of all the GTA 6 debacle, that whole conversation?
Yeah, it's so. I mean, yeah, it's so weird that that when like Rockstar's coming out with the physical editions, it's at first it's just going to be just a case with a code, but then there's also been more news that came up since then that like the actual discs are going to be released like a month later after launch. But that also got me thinking. Well, that would seem like a bit like pointless. Like what would then become of the let's say launch edition physical copies that only have the case? And like if it were me, I would just hold off on the physical editions for a month. If I mean like if Rockstar is really going to go this route, why not just hold off on the physical editions if you're going to release the disc later anyways?
Yeah, I mean, we should say that despite there being rumors that there was going to be a disc release in December, multiple outlets like Vice and the BBC have confirmed via a source at Rockstar that those plans are not planned. The Rockstar are not planning for that. I mean, I think you can kind of take Francis's point and then combine it with Joseph's there, that like even if they're going to do a disc release for like a remastered edition on PlayStation 6 and Helix and whatever, it's just kind of weird that such a cultural event in the industry is not going to have a disc. I mean, when you think back to GTA 5, GTA 4, people queuing up at midnight.
Oh yeah,
outside of midnight releases outside of those stores, that was like a big thing, and you don't really get that anymore. And I think GTA 6 could have been an opportunity for like, it might have been like the last gasp of it, but like having a like monocultural moment that kind of harkens back to a previous time in this industry, rather than hammering in that last nail in the coffin.
Yeah. And GTA I think fans have been waiting for 13 years for this game. It keeps on getting delayed, delay after delay.
I think, it just gives the release a slightly different vibe, to my mind, and that goes with all the Ultimate Edition stuff as well. I mean, outside of all that controversy, I also think it's weird we haven't got a gameplay video 4 or 5 months out from this release. But did you guys have any thoughts on maybe some of the gameplay clues, gameplay details that we got out of the pre-orders and Ultimate Edition?
Not particularly. I'm still a little bit disappointed with what we know so far about this game. It's been really, really trickling. Like they understand. They very clearly understand that people are hungry for this game and for information on it. And with Summer Games Fest having just passed, I'm really not super happy with how little we've seen of this game in general. We saw the slightest little bit of extra detail, almost like something that would come out after the last trailer that we saw, but we had to wait months for it to actually finally trickle down to us. We finally get this information. Pre-orders are out, but all we know is some skins on some different cars that you can get, some outfits that are going to be wearable. I don't really know what I'm going to be doing in this game yet. And I don't know if that tells me that that's just means this is going to be GTA 5 in a new setting with upgraded features, but maybe it's not going to feel exactly new, just better. That could be cool. I'm not throwing any shade at that. That could be very cool. But at the same time, I would like to know more about what's actually happening. Gamescom is coming up. I'm sure this is a little too hopeful, but Rockstar is based in Europe, so maybe they're waiting for a European games show to come around to show what they've got. I doubt that that's what it is. I think a Keighley show would be a better splash. I mean, Keighley's probably still going to be hosting Gamescom, but it's not his show. But still, I just feel like they missed their mark. They could have been the top of the summer hit for people to talk about, and people are just getting annoyed. This game is going to do well no matter what. Don't get me wrong. Nothing we say is going to change the fact this game is going to do well. People not lining up at midnight is not going to be a marketing hit for them. It's GTA 6. The marketing is in the title. People are buying it. This is going to go crazy with especially casual gaming fans who haven't even bought a game in the last 2 or 3 years, who are just on subscription services. They're going to eat this up. This game is going to do well. I think just us as video game fans and fans of the industry, it hurts a little to know that this is not going to be the moment that it could be. It's not going to be the fun, memorable experience that it could be. It's just going to be another part of the gaming cycle where we've got a really big hit and we talk about it on the internet. There won't be any videos of people out together celebrating the release, waiting for 24 hours outside, getting Subway sandwiches down the street from their local GameStop. Nothing fun like that is going to come out of this, unfortunately. There will be some midnight lineups for people to get their codes in a box, but yeah, it's not the same as it used to be. This is going to be a cultural hit that's just going to feel like another game release.
Yeah, it's not that, like, obviously this thing is going to make billions upon billions of dollars, but I think it's more, it's less like a commentary on what's actually going to happen to GTA 6, and it's more about, okay, so this is like the biggest game in the world, the one of, if not the biggest developer in the world. They now feel they have license to do this. I mean, how quickly does the rest of the industry follow, or does the industry follow at all? If GTA 6 is so big, maybe they can get away with it. I think it's difficult to hold Rockstar and GTA 6 as a title accountable for any fuckery that might go on. I think the onus has to be on us, the people that care about this industry moving forward, and people keeping their jobs and working in comfortable conditions of Rockstar, of which Rockstar has been accused of perhaps not engendering the best working conditions for their developers in the past. I think it is up to us as people that care about this industry. Yes, Rockstar and GTA 6 might get away with a little bit of this just because of how monocultural and how massive GTA 6 is. But I think literally one step down and below, we have to be on these developers and these publishers and Sony and Xbox, making sure that this is not the way that the industry goes. All the hirings and the firings, the cost-cutting measures being done in places that it perhaps shouldn't be, and then moving towards AI and other stuff that's just that's just going to make these games worse and less artistic and less valuable. That said, I'm going to play the shit out of GTA 6. That's just a fact. It's a fact. It's a fact for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, GTA is such a big name. It's like Call of Duty, but without the yearly releases.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I wonder. I think Rockstar and Naughty Dog as well. The time scale to develop these massive kind of narrative cinematic games, it's gone from like Naughty Dog did like 4 Uncharted's and The Last of Us in like 8 years. I mean, Rockstar did. I mean, from like 2001 to GTA 5, over 12 years, they did like 4 or 5 GTAs, Red Dead, Bully. It's a broad scope. And then for whatever reason, suddenly these gameplay development cycles have started taking 5, 6 years. And it's just, I think hype, as you saw with games like Watch Dogs and other stuff, I think hype after a certain point can be damaging. And I know this thing's going to make a ton of money anyway, but I do wonder if this whole pre-order business is maybe a slight tipping point from the hype turning into frustration.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, Joseph, I think we need to see something soon from it that's not a cinematic trailer or a screenshot.
Yeah.
Obviously, GTA 6 is out November 19th on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S.
Finally.
You can grab, finally. You can
allegedly.
grab, allegedly.
And then they
You can
delay
grab,
it.
yeah. Oh,
Last minute.
I think very rarely games delay after a pre-order,
Mhm.
but obviously it has happened. And guys, you can grab your physical boxed editions with a single-use redeem code in your local game store on November 12th. Jesus Christ. Yeah, guys, moving on. So we have, again, June 25th, there were developer strikes outside of Quantic Dream's Paris headquarters, protesting possible layoffs. I mean, the planned layoffs was about 115 developers that are currently inactive for the last month. It's about 25% of the workforce. The striking developers at Quantic Dream are arguing that these laid off developers are actually needed to complete Quantic Dream's current project, Star Wars Eclipse. The June 25th strike also coincided with a Lucasfilm representative visiting the studio for an update on Eclipse. They've alleged that Star Wars Eclipse has a lack of resources, vision, and progress. The layoffs are coming after, I can't believe I'm actually saying this about Quantic Dream. These layoffs are coming after Quantic Dream released a MOBA called Spellcasters Chronicles in Steam Early Access in February 2026. It shut down on June 19th. So this thing didn't even make it to a full 1.0. Quantic Dream tried to make a MOBA, tried to make a live service game. Anyway. Yeah, so I'll provide some more quotes later, but the main one is from one of the strikers. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing this. Theo, from Game. Spoke to French outlet Game Cult, translated by Kotaku. He said, "We believe that as things stand, the game literally cannot be finished, as in Star Wars Eclipse, if the redundancy plan is implemented as currently scheduled. We absolutely need the 115 people who have been inactive for a month already. We also want to strongly alert management and tell them to look at all these people who are eager to work but aren't on the day of an official visit," from that Lucasfilm rep that I mentioned. I mean, this also comes after Quantic Dream in 2018 and 2019. David Cage and head of publishing Guillaume de Fondomier were accused of inappropriate behavior and creating a toxic work environment at the studio. We can go into some of that later if we feel the need to. Guys, what are we thinking about the strikes at Quantic Dream?
Well, for Star Wars Eclipse itself, yeah, that's a game that was announced or revealed a few years ago or several years ago by the year 2026, and nothing has really come up with that. with that game since, little to nothing. So with these layoffs that could potentially shut the game down, it'll be really like it could be almost like another like a Star Wars game being lost, like Star Wars 1313 comes into mind. Not the exact same scenario, but could still lead to another Star Wars game being lost with before it could get released, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was announced in 2021. Radio silence since then. I mean, weirdly enough, and I did a little bit of research into this. Quantic Dreams, yes, they've had this failure with Spellcasters Chronicles, but weirdly enough, like their actual profitability is actually pretty decent. So as of last year, Detroit Become Human, which was the last game they released in 2018. As of 2025, it hit 15 million units. They are acquired by huge Chinese publisher NetEase in 2022. And as I said, Guillaume de Fondomier, one of the CEOs, has like touted, and I'm quoting him here, exceptional back catalog revenue performance. So it doesn't appear like the studio itself is struggling. And then I don't quite understand why they would be laying off these workers.
Yeah, it's typically you don't see a company saying that they are failing. So you're always going to hear companies say that something about their revenue or about their system is working well. I don't think that is the full story of what's happening here. I think that back catalog revenue can be exceptional and still not be what you need to create a new game. Back catalog revenue is typically expected to be fairly low anyway. So to have exceptional back catalog revenue just means you're doing better than usual on that front. It doesn't mean that you're making the millions and millions that you need to keep all these people employed. I think the strike comes at a good time. It sounds like it's just a combination of things that really set it off. It's timely. It makes sense. You can't do the job if you don't have the people. You don't want to be overworked. You don't want this game to get shut down and to lose your job in the future. So you might as well strike now because you're going to lose your job eventually anyway if you lose these employees. You're not going to be able to finish the game. To hear that they're this far, I mean, this many years after the announcement, and they still have no vision. Like the leadership team just is not doing the work that they need to move forward and to get this going. That's upsetting to hear. Then there definitely needs to be a restructure, a reset. This is a good time to do it. This is where things either get done or, I mean, you get an answer one way or another. Either these layoffs are going to happen and things are going to start shutting down slowly until it's nothing, or, you get the desired outcome, you get the staff that you need, this game ends up being successful and they don't regret their decision. One way or the other, you will get an answer out of this. So this kind of just pushes the issue and forces it, to administration to make them make a decision. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, like another one of the, as you were saying, the actual development of Star Wars Eclipse being in quite a disappointing place after 5 years. Another one of the strikers, Jules, who also spoke to Game Cult, translated by Kotaku, said, quote, "It's far from being an act of sabotage. On the contrary, we're trying to save Star Wars Eclipse. We could manage to release it with 115 additional people, and that wouldn't be overstaffed. It's what's needed. Mm-hmm. We're understaffed, like in many other companies in the sector, because bosses know very well the passion will lead people to crunch. It's impossible to run a sustainable industry like that."
Yeah.
If you're wanting to get this game out, and I mean, I cut out a little bit of the quote in the middle there where he mentions that like people are still needing to be trained. People at the company are still needing to be trained on the tools that are being used in Star Wars Eclipse. So like this thing is like floundering. Yeah. This thing is not in a good spot. And I'm also just like, despite the fact that I loved Detroit Become, I'm not a big fan of the earlier stuff. It's that kind of meme. It's a little too kind of cringy for my taste. I actually really enjoyed Detroit Become Human. So like, I believe in the style of game that they're using, and applying it to the Star Wars license absolutely makes sense. I just can't let this conversation go without mentioning the 2018 to 19 lawsuits, because if people are striking again within 5 or 6 years of big rounds of lawsuits, like something's still going wrong in this company. So in 2018, 2019, David Cage and Fondomier, both CEOs, faced accusations of inappropriate behavior towards staff. in creating a toxic work environment. So like the French law, it says that people can only work 35 hours per week, 10 hours daily. They had people working 60 to 70-hour weeks. Some employees and Cage and Fondomier personally were photoshopping images of employees into Nazi uniforms, sexualized nurse outfits, and swimming costumes, and those were circulated on company servers. And they lost a 2018 employee harassment court case related to those accusations. It just doesn't. It's in the years since, obviously, and during Detroit Become Human development, but especially in the years since, like this studio does not seem to be being run well. So as you said, Joseph, either they're like kind of fudging the truth on their numbers, or they are doing well and they're still cutting costs because it makes them more money. Either way you cut it, it's not a good look for Cage and Fondomier. So I don't understand why these workers are not being allowed to finish their work in the game, of which they are clearly passionate about and want to see succeed.
Yeah, I think that it does fall down to them not having the money that they may want us to believe they do. I don't think they have it within their budget. I don't think NetEase is willing to offer it. Are they still with NetEase? I can't remember if they're one of the companies that NetEase.
They are.
They are still with NetEase. Okay, I know NetEase has
they are still with NetEase.
let go a few of those developers and decided not to fund them anymore. But I think that they're probably not in a good financial situation. They're not one of those companies that I think was built and structured to survive for this new long-term development cycle that we're looking at, especially knowing that there are still years left to go on this project before it is in anywhere where it could be released. You don't make a live service game as a narrative single-player developer when you have plenty of money. You make a live service game in the middle of another game's development when you need something that's going to make you microtransaction funds. And I think that's where they're currently at. Unfortunately, it didn't hold up. It was unsuccessful. The next step is that they have to let go of people. I think that business-wise, this is probably still what's going to happen despite these strikes. I just don't think they have the funds to support these employees anymore. And it makes me think that we're probably not going to be getting a Star Wars Eclipse, at least not from Quantic Dream. It might have to be sold off to another development studio because I don't think they can support the development for several more years.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty good place to leave it. It just doesn't. Whatever is going on at Quantic Dream, it just does not seem to be working. And in lieu of them getting their jobs back, I hope these workers get nice severance pay or settlement, and they can move on to bigger and better things. As difficult as that is in this industry as of now. Just one last thing. So last episode, me, Joseph, and Dylan were talking about all the stuff going on at Xbox between the studio closures and rising costs and kind of Asher Sharma's new strategy. So things appear to be getting worse. So there's been more studio closures threatened. Those are all kind of rumors at the moment, so we won't really go into that much. But those are rumors, and we'll see if anything comes of those in the next few weeks. What is confirmed, as of August 1st, 2026, there's going to be another price rise on the 512 gigabyte Series X and S. It's going to go up $100. And on the 1 terabyte model, it's going to go up 150. And they're actually fully sunsetting. They're ceasing production on the 2 terabyte Series X model as well. And like in the Xbox Wire post, they start like throwing out ideas that people can like get financing for consoles and buy now, pay later, get refurbished consoles, buy used consoles. Like we're at the point now where we're talking about buying a gaming console like buying a car. Like it's really it's getting to that point. It's really weird.
And it'll cost you about as much too.
Well, there you go. Yeah. I mean, I saw some rumors that the next PlayStation console might be over $1,000, which is just nuts. I mean, guys, what do we think of the price rises at Xbox and like all these price rises going on in general?
Yeah, it's not at least sidetracking a little bit to the PlayStation 6 side of it possibly being like $1,000. But even just like overall with all the price hikes throughout the industry, including Xbox, it is just not a good sign, especially with like how recently, as of this recording, as the Steam Deck, not a Steam Deck, Steam machine is being priced at like over $1,000. It's just not a good look at like next gen, whether it's Xbox or PlayStation or yeah.
Yeah, I can't quite believe they're moving forward with the next generation. Like it was, and in that same kind of rumor article, it was saying like 2027, which I think is fucking nuts in the current environment. I don't know why you wouldn't wait to start producing consoles for another couple of years. I mean, I don't really get that, and like I don't think many people are going to be buying a $1,000 PlayStation 6 when their PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 5 Pro works perfectly well.
And good thing, and on my end, good thing I had my PS5 for for the past few years, and like I'm just thinking with like Sony alone, well, going back and forth between 2027 for PS6 or maybe later on. In my opinion, it should be later on, whether it's PlayStation 6 or Xbox, Project Helix, etc., etc. Just give this current generation at least a an extra year. Again, whether it's PlayStation or Xbox.
Honestly, it's the state of the industry, right? The price hikes, we're not even going to blame Xbox for this one. This is what has to happen. It's the Xboxes are not selling well. They're trying to get them sold again. They have a lot of costs to keep up right now. There's really no excuse for them because it is their parent company that's driving this issue. They're one of the main players in it. So still
It's ironic.
on Microsoft. Yeah, it really is. But I mean, I think there have been several. I'll have to look back and find them so we could source them. But several statements made by different Microsoft executives that talk about how just what a fraction Xbox is for the entire Microsoft brand. They're not going to stop AI development just because Xbox needs them to be successful. That would just be, cutting off their own nose to spite their face. There's no point. So yeah, they're going to keep going with the AI push. Xbox is going to adapt and do their best. That's probably what Microsoft is telling them to do. And this generation, I think I agree with you guys. It needs more time because it's just going to be unaffordable to jump into a new console generation coming up. There is, I believe, news came out today that there is going to be a new grouped lawsuit against a few of these companies, including Samsung. That'll be there's going to be a lawsuit for saving a lot of this RAM and technology specifically for AI because they know they could sell it at a high price in big batches. And so that might be yet another part of the problem. We'll see what happens with that. But I think you should wait. If you're any company, you should wait. Nintendo was able to get the Switch out the door in a timely fashion because they were already working on it. It's arguable whether the Switch is 9th or 10th generation of consoles, really, because of that. And so they were able to get it out at a reasonable price. But to see the Switch at $500 on release, or it was $450 in America on release, yeah, that's a bad sign because it's not as powerful as the next generation consoles coming out from Microsoft and Sony. So that it's going to be a drastic difference.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's the whole thing about Microsoft driving the industry that's kind of destroying their gaming subsidiary, which kind of I wonder what those conversations are like when Asha Sharma goes up to the top floor. I mean, more broadly speaking, I mean, also you're saying like, oh, companies hold off on making new consoles. I would say consumer. If you're listening to this, if anyone's listening to this, they're a consumer. But hold off on buying anything. Just stick with what you've got for now. I'm most interested to see what happens. I think it is kind of a when at this point, although of course people disagree. If and when this AI bubble bursts at some point, like what happens then? How long does it take for these like component costs to go down and the supply to go up? I think hearing about next gen consoles coming out at the end of 2027 is just kind of crazy. It should honestly be like 2029, 2030.
Yeah.
This generation hasn't had enough time, and the costs need to come down before they do new consoles.
I'd like to add another point here with about like somewhat related to that the next gen console should come out later on. I'm also thinking back to how this generation started with COVID and like it took a while because like Xbox and PlayStation where they had all those shortages due to the pandemic, and then it took a while. The shortages, the scalping. So for like the first 2 or 3 years of this generation, not as many people could get into it because of all that pandemic related stuff, and then now with the AI and the current world economy and how it's affecting the gaming industry. Now there is this unaffordability that is just prices going up, affordability going down. So it's such a mess overall in terms of the business side of gaming.
Yeah, it's a mess, and I think that's a pretty good place to leave it. We're going to take a short break, guys. After the break, myself, Joseph, and Francis will be discussing our most anticipated indie titles. See you after the break. Hey guys, and we're back. We're discussing our most anticipated indie titles. I just thought after all those blockbuster games from the first couple episodes, I thought it might be nice to discuss some slightly smaller games. We've each brought 3 indie titles that we're excited for, and I'm happy to just get going. Francis, I think you wanted to go first with was it Lazy River?
So my first anticipated indie game is called Lazy River. And like with the other, like maybe with many of the other games on our lists, Lazy River doesn't have a release date at the moment, although the game's supposed to be coming into early access sometime in the future. And there's also maybe at least a year longer for development time. So maybe this game's could be have a full release around 2027, 2028. But anyways, Lazy River, it's all at a water park, and it's you and some buddies going to fight in the water park. But then also that there's some kind of crazy property in this water park where if somebody pees in the water park, everybody who does get affected is going to be turned into zombies, and so it's going to be like mostly first person, and it's all again like water park based weapons, whether it's the pool noodles or water guns, and it just really looks so fun. And right now, again, it's too bad that there's no release date yet or even a release window, but Lazy River is looking like to be a fun game so far, promising so far.
Is it like kind of battle royale or like more kind of traditional multiplayer shooter, or are you working as a team in co-op more?
I think it's more of working as a team, not really battle royale, but yeah, you're not spawning out of a battle bus dropping down into a water park. But
yeah, is it
yeah.
what are you trying to do during the matches? Is it more kind of puzzle based? Are you fighting NPCs? Or are you fighting another team of real players?
I think it's like maybe a mix of like player versus environment and player versus other players versus other teams. That's what I could get out of the game that was shown.
Yeah, no, I mean that sounds really cool. I remember seeing that trailer. It was it's so weird. Never actually played a game set in a water park.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, it's a weird looking one, but as you said, it looks good, and it currently has no release date. Is that right, Francis?
Yeah, no release date, not even for early access, but that's supposed to happen earlier. So,
Fair enough. Joseph, did you have what's your first game, mate?
Yes. So the first game, this has been, I think, on a lot of people's radar for a long time because they've done a really good job of using social media to promote it for a bit over a year now, I think. And that is Screenbound from Crescent Moon Games. It is such an original, and I can only imagine extremely difficult concept to put together, which is, I'm going to try to explain this in an audio podcast format, and you're not going to get it. But I encourage everyone listening to look up the trailers for this because it's amazing. It is a game that you are simultaneously playing in 2D and 3D, holding what looks like a Game Boy and trying to navigate a 2D screen on that Game Boy with every movement you make, while also navigating a 3D world as the character holding the Game Boy. So there's going to be a lot of difficulty to it. It's going to be a mind freak, but I think it's going to be one of those games that will be so satisfying to start to master and really understand and start swapping back and forth between the two screens, between looking at your environment and looking down at your little Game Boy and seeing where you are and what's going to hurt you on the Game Boy and what's going to hurt you in real life, I guess, the quote unquote real life. It's a really exciting concept. They're calling it, sometimes they call it like a 5D platformer because it's 2D plus 3D. It's going to be a great time. I seriously can't wait to play it. It's not like super flashy on the visuals or anything, which is so perfect because it feels like you've jumped into a 2D Game Boy game come to life in 3D. And so everything is just, there are islands everywhere completely separated from other parts of the map and just difficult locations to get to. And you're going to have to navigate two games at the same time. The speedrunners are going to go crazy on this game. And I can only imagine the internet content is going to be so much fun.
Yeah, no, it looks really, really innovative. Like I can't. It's that kind of innovation where I can't believe no one's ever thought of it before. And like specifically because I've watched some of those demo clips and trailers as well. There's a bit in one of the demos that's online where the player, you see, it's like at the edge of one of those islands, one of those floating islands, and there's in the 2D screen on the kind of Game Boy, which they call a Q Boy in this game, I think. On the edge of that island, there's a little balloon at the top. It's not there in the 3D, but if you jump in the 2D game, you'll catch the balloon in the 3D world and kind of float down.
Right.
And just, yeah, like it's like little magic moments like that. And there's also points like little secret challenge rooms, I think. You dock your Game Boy device, you dock that into certain places in the 3D world, and you'll play 2D levels, like secret challenge rooms kind of thing. Just looks really interesting. I think that is coming out. Is that September 10th of this year?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that looked really interesting. My first indie title that I am excited for is Tenebris Somnia. It's from it's a very small studio. It's iBot Studio. It's a couple of Argentinian developers. This is a kind of retro 2D survival horror in the vein of Clock Tower and like maybe Alone in the Dark to a degree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like I've recently played a couple of like kind of modern reinterpretations of older retro horror like Signalis or Crow Country.
Oh.
So I'm kind of in two really good games. Like I'm in kind of a retro survival horror kick. So seeing this very kind of like traditional 2D pixelated art, really cool enemy design. There's puzzles, there's inventory management, and there's kind of like annoying tank control combat as well. The really interesting stuff here comes, they're adding FMV elements, so like live action cutscenes, like little interstitials, like when an enemy bites you or attacks you, there'll be a little image of gnashing teeth, stuff like that. all the cutscenes, the entire story is in live action as well. It just looks really, really cool, and it allows some of that enemy design. There's like a tall Last of Us clicker looking lady who's like Lady Dimitrescu height. There's a guy with just like a melting candle wax face. It all translates really well into live action. So in the same way they're doing like 2D retro horror, it kind of translates into like a really cool like horror fan film B movie. It just looks really, really interesting, and especially because I'm on that kind of retro horror kick, retro horror developed today kick, I guess.
Yeah.
Tenebris Somnia to me looks really cool. It's coming out October 16th of this year on PC, PS5, and Xbox.
Just in time for
Francis,
Halloween.
mate, what's your next one? Yeah, just in time for Halloween, absolutely. Francis, mate, what's your next one?
So my next one is Mr. Records. And this is really how should I say it? The concept of this is a little, for lack of a better word, funky, where it's not bad and not funky in a bad way, not at all, but like you got like
funky. It's disco.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a mix of so yeah, you're like a older man who's running a record store, but then at the same time it also involves, like the way I understand it, like with all the songs that you sell or you collect, you're also playing levels that are based on those songs in a way. That's what I could get from the trailer. But it looks really unique, and the concept looks unique, especially for like compared to most video game concepts out there. So that's what got my attention, and like Lazy River, there is no release date yet for Mr. Records, so we'll just have to. It's just another game where we have to wait and see when the game will have the launch date and announced, and when that launch date will be. But it's looking fun so far.
It's looking funky, is what it's looking. I had this one on my list as well before I saw our little rundown document that we do. Correct me if I'm wrong, Francis. It's like half of it is like a rhythm platformer, and then the other half is a kind of light management sim.
Yeah, it's just like a mix of those two. You're running a store, but then you're also playing in levels based on the products that you sell, or in this
the
case,
records.
games. The records.
The records, yeah. I thought that one looked really cool as well, and thanks for bringing that to us, Francis. Joseph, mate, what was your second game?
All right, so I'm gonna have to give a shout out to one game because I bumped it off of my list to make room for something we didn't get to talk about last week. I'm going to give a quick shout out to it's N plus infinity times 2. I had to get all the sequence correct. N plus infinity times 2 is the sequence there. Anybody who's played N plus back in the Xbox arcade days will know what it's like. Anyone who's played the Speedrunners game that was free with Xbox Live Gold for a while will also know this style of game. It is intentionally difficult platforming on small levels with somewhat pixelated graphics. And it's a really good time. I would encourage anybody who likes platforming or who likes even just general speed running, not just the game Speedrunners, but speedrunning in general. It's a really, really fun time. I bumped it off of my list to go in depth about because I wanted to talk about Big Walk, which we didn't get to talk about on our last episode. During the Nintendo conference, they announced their release date in August, and I am so excited for this game. I have been watching and waiting for this game for about a year and a half, and they continuously do not have a release date for us time after time. And now, only 2 months before release, we finally get an announcement for the date. So Big Walk is going to be just the new big hang out with your friends game, something like Peak or Repo or Lethal Company, just that style of game. I don't want to call it friend slop because I don't think any of those games are slop. I think they're very intentionally crafted. I actually love the genre, so I hate using the term, but it is going to be the next friend. It's going to be the next hangout game. That's what I'll call them. Just hangout games where you just spend time with your friends trying to do stuff together. It looks like it's a lot less risky than those other games, so there's not going to be any time that you have to spend apart unless you get lost and separated from each other, because you are exploring a big open world. You are completing puzzles together, doing fun challenges, trying to progress through those challenges when you find them, and we'll see what the exact motivation for that is going to be. But it really looks like just a great time to hang out with some friends and have some fun. There's a lot of goofy animations and intentionally placed funny mishaps that can come about. So I just can't wait to spend some time in it.
Which developer is that from, Joseph?
It's the Untitled Goose Game developers. I think it has.
Right.
Oh yeah, Untitled Goose Game.
Yeah, Untitled Goose Game developers House.
Yeah, I thought that looked cool. I mean, the guys all look. Maybe you guys don't have this in the US, but I couldn't get out of my head how much the characters in that trailer looked like Pingu.
Yes,
which
yeah.
Is just a very,
I think I heard of Pingu.
Yeah,
before.
It's a mostly UK based kids cartoon about a little penguin, and his main noise he makes is newt newt, and he has the exact same mouth snout. I don't really know what those. The exact same kind of mouth piece as the characters in Big Walk. I just couldn't get that out of my head. I kind of had to say that. My next indie title that I'm bringing to the table is Grave Seasons from Perfect Garbage.
Make something of yourself, for yourself, while you still can.
Again, kind of like Tenebris Somnia, where I got into a specific brand of game and then a title popped up to specifically scratch an itch. Not really a whole genre, but like last year, I think I already mentioned it before, but like last year, and then I tried to play it again this year, I got really deep into Dave the Diver. Just like a management sim plus another kind of game. I think for whatever reason, that structure really worked for me. I found it really satisfying. Grave Seasons is doing the same thing. You've got that kind of small town farming / life sim element. I think there's like a 10 or so minute gameplay video on IGN if anyone wants to check that out. You're doing like farming, you're cooking, and you're eating those things for buffs. You're fishing, mining. There's romance elements. You're giving people gifts. There's like quests. And then like the horror element, which is the other half of this game, comes from the main story. There's there's crimes. You're breaking into houses. There's murders. Your allies are getting ripped apart. There's monsters. It's like horror adventure. So it's not necessarily there's a bunch of combat. I don't think, but it seems like a very, very specific balance that they're pulling off from what I've seen so far. The soundtrack, especially, even when you're doing the cutesy farming stuff during the day, the soundtrack is just slightly uncanny. It just makes you feel it's a little bit off in a really fun way. Clearly, it's meant to make you feel like there's something wrong. There's something wrong with this town, which I think is called Ashen Ridge. There's something wrong with this town. There's something dark going on underneath. And the horror elements are going to come out when you explore the town at night. There's bits and pieces that we've seen of like you looking over crime scenes and murder victims and monsters chomping off your friends' heads. So that's Grave Seasons from Perfect Garbage. It's all done, and I should say it's all done in this like really cute, like kind of Pokemon sprite art, which is which gives the whole thing, I think, allows people that aren't really horror fans to engage in it, but it gives the whole thing this like really weird mix of inspirations. I'm really excited for it. That's coming on August 14th of this year on PC, PS5, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, it's nice. Oh, also being another quick note on top of that is this is being published by Blumhouse Games, who are making a push to bring like high quality horror to the video game genre too. Which, not to say we didn't already have it, we absolutely already had it, but yeah, it's cool that Blumhouse are getting involved to help push even more indie horror, and So this has got their seal of approval. It seems they're publishing it. So.
Yeah, specifically indie horror. I played Fear the Spotlight a couple years ago, which was like it's kind of this like again like another kind of horror stealth adventure with specifically like kind of PS1 graphics and art style and tone. So you're thinking like very old Resident Evil, that kind of thing. It's much more simple in the gameplay department than that, just visually. If Blumhouse are making the push to publish specifically kind of indie titles, because I think a lot of the other publishers have the big blockbuster horror stuff covered. If Blumhouse are kind of moving into this indie horror space, I think that's really interesting, and I definitely support that if this is the kind of stuff that they're giving the green light on. Francis, mate, what was your last indie title that you wanted to bring to our discussion today?
So my last game, which to me is my most anticipated indie game, is Super Yooka-Laylee Kart. Which, for those who don't know, Super Yooka-Laylee Kart is a upcoming kart racing spin-off for there's a video game series by Platonic Games called Yooka-Laylee, which they had the remaster from last year of that original game that came out in 2017. So what caught my eye with the trailer for Super Yooka-Laylee Kart is the art style. It's pixelated, looks like Mario Kart, like the original Mario Kart on Super Nintendo, so that 16-bit pixelated art style, and there looks to be a lot of customizable modes and settings that you'll be able to have with Super Yooka-Laylee Kart. I don't get that much into racing games, even though I would like to, but I've played stuff like the original Crash Team Racing and the remake Crash Team Racing Nitro Field, so this looks like a game that's already up my alley. And if you haven't played the original Yooka-Laylee or the remaster Yooka-Replaylee, I definitely recommend giving those games a try before going into Super Yooka-Laylee Kart, which, like the other games on my list, does not yet have a release date. But at the same time, these to be announced release dates are just giving these games more hype, more anticipation. So it's not necessarily a bad thing that they don't have a release date just yet.
Yeah, no, I think people are past the point where they want a release date that they kind of know deep down is gonna get pushed back. That sounds cool that it's that they're not just kind of transplanting the platformer games art style. They're kind of doing their own thing. Is it more kind of pixelated, more retro, you'd say? Arcade?
Oh yeah, more retro inspired. This isn't, by the way, this isn't the only Yooka-Laylee spin-off. There was sort of a Yooka-Laylee spin-off back in 2019, which I haven't played yet, called Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. So that's another big gap between games. Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair 2019, and then here's Super Yooka-Laylee Kart 2027 or 8, who knows?
Maybe. Probably 27. But that sounds really cool. And Francis, thanks for bringing all three of your most anticipated indie titles. Joseph, mate, what was your last one?
This next one's a bit weird. I gotta be honest, all of these games that I've brought forward, I'm realizing now, are all like 3D minimalist art styles. I didn't mean to do that. I wouldn't say Big Walk's necessarily like simplistic, but it does bring like very funny looking characters and puzzles in a realistic environment. So this next game is Prove You're Human. Which it's an odd one, and it's going to be horror in a very strange and unsettling way. I'm not sure just how scary it'll be as much as unsettling, but for people who really like the tension and buildup of Portal 2, and maybe the way that game ends with the confrontation, this is going to be a cool, wacky thought piece kind of game that you can get into. The gameplay itself isn't super obvious, but what I can say is there's a little bit of mix of CAPTCHAs and Pragmata, which is a very I think you can already get the idea based off what I'm saying, but In Pragmata, when you're wanting to defeat enemies, you have to hack them, meaning that you have to do these little puzzles on screen while the enemy is coming at you and then begin shooting them. It looks like in order to accomplish things in this game, it's not so much combat, but in order to accomplish things, you have to zoom in on something and complete a CAPTCHA, thus the name Prove You Are Human. And so it's going to be a really, really funky, weird one, but that's the kind of thing I'm really into. So if you like indie games for the originality that they bring and artistic elements, and there's definitely going to be a heavy narrative focus in this one with everything that you do. I would definitely recommend checking this one out.
No, I mean that sounds really cool. I mean, we all love doing CAPTCHAs. I'm sure I'm kidding. I'm sure it's implemented interestingly in the game. I think I saw that trailer. Is that you're trying to convince an AI that it is an AI, that it's not human?
Right. Yes, and it seems like it's also testing you back. Yeah.
It's also yeah. I mean that just sounds like actual science fiction, not like the kind of action sci-fi that a lot of people, I think, mistake for real science fiction.
Right.
It sounds like a really, really interesting concept.
Yeah. It also comes from Sunset Visitor, who are the developers behind 1000X Resist that came out in 2024. I know that there were some big fans of that game, so this is definitely different compared to that. But if you were a fan of that game, you'll be able to put high hopes in this one. No,
that sounds really cool. Moving on to my last game. I am the host, but I have to decide whether or not I wanted the first word or the last word. I chose the last one. My last one is a very, very small developer. The developers are called PAPERFROG. It's literally two guys out of New York City with some extra support on music, sound effects, and a voice actor. It's called Bub.
Okay, just gonna watch some highlights real quick and check some emails. Where were we? What the hell are we doing? Come on, focus.
It's coming out in 2027 for PC on Steam. It is a narrative point-and-click adventure game set in New York City, as the player character called Bub is walking around his apartment and walking around New York City trying to find inspiration to create new art. And you'll explore his memories as you walk around New York City, his memories from childhood and from later on. The art style, it's not a hand-drawn art style. It's almost hand-scribbled, I would say. It's very, very specific. You'll see it in the video version of this podcast if you pop on Spotify or YouTube. But it's very, very interesting. It almost feels like these stages, these levels are being drawn as you move through them. It seems like a very, despite its really innovative art style, it seems like a very kind of classic, emotional, linear narrative experience. My only worry about this one is when it comes out, maybe people reacting to it in the same way they did Mixtape, where they're not really reviewing the game on its own terms. They're reviewing it by what they think it should be. There's me getting into that whole controversy.
Yeah.
But
dipped your toe in.
But yeah, yeah, fun. It's a fun name to say. But yeah, that's Bub. I would encourage anyone just to go look at. There's a little trailer at PAPERFROG, their YouTube channel, where they've got the reveal trailer from Day of the Devs. I would just encourage anyone to go watch that, because it's, even if you're not going to play it, if you don't play on PC, it is just a absolutely stunning game to look at, and seems like a really emotional story. And also, like the developer story, they took a bit of a break in the last few years from development because one of the developers got MS, multiple sclerosis. Mm-hmm. So they've kind of just started up development again in the last couple of years. I'm a PlayStation gamer, so I'll struggle to find a place to play this. I'm going to be going out and looking for it because it looks really interesting. That's Bub, coming to PC on Steam sometime in 2027. Guys, thanks so much for talking about some indie titles. I think it's good in much the same way that Jeff Keighley says. I think it's good to sometimes talk about some of the smaller titles, because we always end up talking about all the big blockbusters and GTA as it is. and just the episode where we're talking about a bunch of industry fuckery and nonsense from all the big corporations and all the big players. I think it's sometimes good to get down and realize this medium, what it's really about. It's people doing cool things to tell new and interesting stories or create new gameplay mechanics and new visual styles, and just innovate. So, I mean, thanks for joining us for this little segment, guys. Hopefully, probably sometime next year. Hopefully, we'll do that again, and we'll get a little update on some more indie titles. We're going to take another break. When we come back, I'm going to be talking to Joseph about the new remake of Star Fox. Okay, guys, welcome back. So me and Joseph are going to review the new Star Fox that came out on June 25th. So it's out now on Nintendo Switch 2. This is, I think, what is it, Joseph? The 5th remake of the 1993 original on the Super Nintendo. It's kind of on rails shooter where you're flying a ship, playing as a big anthropomorphic fox, and there's chickens and fish. I'm slightly betraying the fact that I had barely heard of this series, barely played it. So I'm going to throw over to you, Joseph. This is a big release for the Switch 2. So what did you think of this year's Star Fox remake?
Yeah, it was a quick and snappy release for sure. It got its own, it had plenty of rumors circling around it, combined with the rumors of an Ocarina of Time remake, and then it got its own Nintendo Direct, and then Nintendo released it about a month, 2 months. I think it was 2 months since the announcement. So it was a quick and snappy release. It is yet another remake, technically, of the original Star Fox. A lot of people would say that the lineage starts at Star Fox 64, then there's Star Fox 64 3D, and then there's this one. But Star Fox 64 was kind of a reimagining of the original game, so in a way it was a remake of that one. Very similar style of gameplay, even similar, same levels and planets in some situations. So this is kind of the 4th iteration of Star Fox, and I've been kind of balancing whether or not I wanted to say it this way, because I do think it will make some people upset, but I think it is the best iteration of the game so far, which is good. It is not developed in-house by Nintendo, interestingly. It was actually Velan Studios that developed this one, and they are behind some games that many people probably would not be super familiar with, the likes of Knockout City and Midnight Murder Club, games that just didn't quite take off. I'm really, really happy to see that they got a solid project that's going to, launch them into recognition. This is really good for them. I'm really happy for them because they knocked it out of the park. Not only are the remade sections of the game super polished, it feels so good to play. There's new control systems, which I talked about in our last episode, that I had played the demo, and playing with mouse controls, it feels like a simplified flight simulator. It is so much fun. Not only is that amazing, but the new challenge modes for every single level, both a normal mode and expert difficulty, for every single planet, every single mission, but also the online 4v4. I'm addicted. I am addicted to that online game mode more than I've been to most multiplayer competitive games in a while. So now I'm going to be known as the guy who only plays games online when they are Marathon or Star Fox. And I don't really know if I want to be that guy, but that's where we're at. So this new Star Fox game is so solid. The remake, it looks beautiful. Some of the animations, in terms of like in-level animations, not the pre-rendered, but the gameplay animations, they're a little bit see-through. You could see where the quality is a little bit different in some places. It didn't bother me at all, like not even a little bit. This game has gone through so many iterations and styles that at this point it's negligible. And an important thing to note, a lot of people are going to have a problem with there's new designs and there are new voice actors. So new character designs and new voice actors. I will say the new voice actors, by the time I got through with my very first run of the game, I didn't even notice. Those are the new voice actors in my mind. I'm used to them now. Those are the new character voices. I love the old original voices. They're classic. These guys are doing great. It sounds fine. They are in character. They don't just sound like what most English voice actors sound like, which is an archetype. They really sound like they're trying to play their character, and it's great. It's really fantastic. The new animated models, do I love them as much? Maybe not. Maybe sometimes I do. But they are, it's not terrible. You get used to it over time, and honestly, I have a feeling that within the next couple of years, that's just going to be the characters to us. So I'm loving the game. I'm going to keep playing that online mode. I'm going to keep playing the challenge modes. This is a great remake, and the additions are fantastic.
That's really great to hear. I'm glad you had such a good time with it, Joseph. In terms of the structure, I've been hearing some stuff about it. And like there's like 7 missions total, and each story run is like maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. And the kind of gameplay value proposition is about doing multiple runs and seeing all the different missions you can do through the story. But like one run of the story is going to take you about 2 hours. Is that right?
Yes, there are. Let me see here. There's more like 12, I believe. 12. There's like 12, yeah. And with variations of the final mission and stuff, it ends up being about 15 missions. Over 12 or so planets and areas. And yes, the whole point is to find the alternate routes in certain levels. Play through your first one, and you probably aren't going to find all the alternate routes. So your gameplay is always going to look different the first few times that you play it until you find every planet, you get through every mission. And then even then there's replayability because there are medals that you can earn on each level, depending on how many hits you get, which is how many ships you destroy and such. So depending on that, you can get medals. Once you get all the medals on every planet, you unlock the expert difficulty, where the levels change a bit, they get harder, and even then you can unlock more medals, you unlock more challenges that way in the challenge mode. It's very replayable. That's how it's structured, and it's definitely successful in that sense. It might be the kind of game that some players want to give a few runs and then give the game a rest and come back to it. But other players are going to get really into it, get in the completionist mindset, and want to knock it all out over, maybe a dozen hours of gameplay, maybe up to 20 hours of gameplay, just running through all the different modes.
No, that's really interesting. The only like on rails thing I've played is like House of the Dead stuff at arcades.
Yeah.
Like old like House of the Dead 2 in arcades with my little brother when we were like 10. Always dying in the first like level or two. But what's interesting to me about this is what are the actual levels like? Does it feel for like a modern, like you're obviously a fan of the franchise, you understand what you're going into, so you can kind of like not prepare yourself because you love it, but you go into it with your expectations set correctly. But for like for a modern gaming audience, do you think do the levels themselves feel a little bit restrictive, or is there enough kind of variation in the way you can do things that more modern gamers are still going to have fun with this one?
There's definitely variation, and there always has been. The alternate routes is kind of a good signifier of that. The fact that there are things that you can do within the mission that change the way that you actually get to play the game and the different missions you go to, I think shows the agency that the player will have. I don't want to give anything away for players who haven't played the game and don't want any secrets revealed about how to get certain alternate routes, but there are things you can do within the level that change the way that your gameplay actually goes. You're not required to shoot every enemy. You could dodge enemies all day long and just get past them, and there are some that you will be required to shoot. But the other thing is, there are 2 different ways that this game is played. For the most part, there are a lot of on-rail sections, but there are also open free-flying sections where you get to dogfight in a completely 3D sense, where you're not just moving straight on rails A lot of the boss fights are built that way. Some of the missions are even built that way, where you're doing big dog fights with tons of enemies flying around. You have to help your 3 companions when they're getting chased down. At some points, you get into like the real dog fighting sections where some formidable enemies come in that have names and characters, and they fly as well as you'd expect a player online to fly. So those sections are really, really fun, and they make you feel the coolest, for sure, as opposed to those on-rail sections. But yeah, I think the variation is nice, because if it were all dogfighting all the time, it might get old eventually, and if it were all on rails, I think it would be very stale. But ever since 64, it has always been this way, where there are these open sections of flying that you get to do, and you feel much more like a dogfighter, and you feel like you're in that cockpit, and you're making decisions on which way you're going to go. You could do flip turns and turn yourself 180 degrees upside down, and if you're getting followed, you could do a maneuver where you could loop completely so that now you're behind them. And it feels real Top Gun Maverick at times. And people say that it feels real Top Gun, but to me, it just feels real Star Fox, which I love about it. It's kind of the identity of the game. So you get to feel like a bit of an action hero at times.
Oh, yeah. No, that's good to hear. I mean, like you were saying, the more open dogfighting sections, you're not always flying, you're not always in a ship. There's also, I think, like tank levels and submarine levels.
Oh,
how did you find those?
Yeah, so the submarine level is notoriously the worst level in Star Fox history, whether it be these normal Star Fox games or the weird adventures ones and stuff like that, which I say weird not in a mean way. People love that game. There's a cult following for that game. But yeah, the submarine level is a huge disappointment, always has been. I would say nothing has changed. They can only do so much when remaking the game. They would have had to replace it with a completely new level. The submarine level sucks. I think everybody agrees. Everybody, even who loves Star Fox, agrees that submarine level sucks. The Landmaster, which is the tank, that is a little bit more arguable. Some people don't like those as much because there's a lot less freedom of movement. But there are some really cool mechanics that come with it. I'm probably right in the middle. I don't love it as much as flying, but I do enjoy that because there are only 2 Landmaster levels, and one of them you probably won't find on most playthroughs. I think it's a good enough variation where it just kind of spices up your playthrough so that you're doing something a little different, and I can appreciate it for that. You have your fun with it, and then it's over. So I think it's perfectly balanced that way. The mechanics, yes, they are stiffer for sure, but it's not quite like the submarine level where it's just a slog. You are more actively involved with the environment, and there's a lot of fun to be had. So I would say it's just that submarine level, still a bit of a disappointment. The Landmaster levels are fun because they are far and few between, but they're a little bit exciting to get to do something different. And they also serve a little bit narratively, because that's something they really added into this game, was a lot of narrative spice, animated cutscenes, and a reason to be doing why you're doing. You understand why you're going to each planet and what their significance is, things that you never knew before. Maybe from some manuals and handbooks, they had some of this information in the older games, probably on the SNES one especially. But yeah, you get a lot more context now. The backstory is still the same, but opens up even more. And those gameplay sections do feel like they serve that narrative purpose, which is really fun.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned like the redesigns and the characters you maybe sometimes don't love as much as the originals. A lot of the story content in this new iteration of Star Fox, that's, broadly speaking, that's a lot of the new stuff. How did it play to you as like a longtime fan of this? Is it a series if it's one game done over and over again? How did it play to you as a longtime fan?
I guess you could say because Star Fox 2, which was supposed to release in the late 90s, mid to late 90s, I think the mid 90s, since that finally did release in 2017 on the Switch emulator of the Super Nintendo, yeah, we could call the aerial Star Fox series now. Star Fox Assault and Star Fox Zero aren't the most popular games, but they do exist. So this is the only one that people actually like. So they've remade it over and over and over again. And I believe this is their attempt to start fresh from the beginning again. At least that's what I hope. I hope that we're going to get a Star Fox 2 in maybe 2029 or 2030, and it'll be a continuation from this one, because all of that new energy that they've put into it, it's kind of what I've been waiting for, playing Star Fox for all these years. I've played all the iterations and I've loved them, but they are very the same. They're just upgraded in slight ways. This is a ground up remake that keeps the gameplay the same, but the essence of Star Fox upgrades. And so you get a brand new story here. Not a brand new story, but the actual context behind what's happening. In the other games, it's just go save the Lilat system. General Pepper is telling you what to do. You vaguely get the idea that you're a mercenary group, but in this game, they actually explain the fact that James McCloud, Fox's father, started this mercenary group, Star Fox, after being in the military, and then his son eventually takes over. Peppy was there since the beginning, and Peppy is now guiding Fox and Slippy were in the academy together when they learned how to fly, and that's why they're best friends. Falco comes from a different group of outlaws, and so all of these characters now have backgrounds and they've come together. They get animated cutscenes where you get to see their dynamics individually and as a group. One of the most badass things that I have ever seen in a Nintendo game actually comes in a cutscene in this game, where there is an opportunity where you go and save one of the characters. And that's one of those hidden Landmaster missions I was talking about, where you play as the tank. The cutscene before that level, it was the last planet that I got to, and I'm so happy it was, because the way that the other three characters react and the sick-ass animation they get before they get a little bit of a walkout on the way to go do the mission, and it is really, really cool. It just shows like their unity and how far they come as a team. All of that development adds narrative to Star Fox that didn't exist in these piloting games before, at least not in a good sense. When you go to the later games that people didn't like, they tried it. Now we get the original game with a narrative background. We're starting from the beginning. I really hope it continues this way.
Yeah, so you preambled my last question. So like, you think that, but I mean, I would say between this and, I think, what was it? Fox McCloud showed up in Super Mario Galaxy movie in April. Do you think there's a little bit of momentum behind us now? We can actually get a proper Star Fox 2 that's not on some emulator on a website somewhere?
Yeah, I think that it's likely that this is going to be a launching point for Star Fox. I would say be wary, because I think that Star Fox being in Mario Galaxy was a really short-term marketing thing. I think it was kind of a tease that Star Fox was coming back. I don't know if it meant that we're getting a series necessarily, but of course it doesn't only mean that we're getting a one-time thing. There was fairly positive reception to this game overall. I think most people would say that this is a great game, in that 8 out of 10 range. Some people would put it at a 9, some people maybe a 10. I think I'd be on that higher end. I do think, you'll be able to read that by the time this goes out. You'll be able to read the full review and get my final numbered decision on Smash Jump. But of course, I encourage you to read the article as well. But yeah, I'll have my final decision for you there by the time this goes out, so you can go and check it out on the website on smashjump.com. I really, really like where they're going with it. I would personally love to see a continuation. I think Star Fox fans would love to see a continuation, because we're finally getting what we've been waiting for so long, which is the origin story with the actual meat and potatoes that we've wanted. New fans, I think, could see this as a one-off and maybe not mind if they don't have to hear anything about it again. But I don't think that means new fans wouldn't be excited if they got a second one as well. So I think all around it would be a benefit to go for another Star Fox game after this. If not, upkeep the challenges, online multiplayer, maybe add a DLC. There's only 3 maps on the multiplayer right now, and they each have their own reserved game mode. So when you play a map, there's only 1 game mode on it, and there's only 3 of those. So there's 3 maps, 3 game modes. There's only 3 ways to play online. I would love to get a 4th and 5th way to play online, because as much as I love it, I found myself getting a little bit bored of it. And I do want to keep playing, but I'd like to see some more maps maybe put in over the next couple months. And then DLC, I think, would be the next big step. Find out if a Star Fox 2 would be worth doing by getting reception to expanding the story into something new, something that's not a remake of the first game. Go ahead and make a little bit of original content. Let Velen Studios put some narrative into it with teamwork alongside some Nintendo developers that are, storied to have been with the Star Fox franchise. team them up, get a little bit of a new narrative going, see how people respond to that. Maybe that launches us into a series.
Yeah, no, I'm just glad you had such a good time with it, Joseph. So, I mean, you probably, I mean, obviously go to smashjump.com to get Joseph's full review for Star Fox. But like right now, where you are, you'd probably say like a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm in that range. Yeah, I definitely am.
Yeah, he's there. So, I mean, it sounds like maybe the multiplayer needs a little bit of building out. And, you know, there's maybe a couple artifacts from the older versions of the game that can't really be fixed, even by a remake. But yeah, sounds like a really good time. I think. Would you say to newcomers? Obviously, longtime fans are going to play this. You say to newcomers, give this one a go.
I would. Oh, absolutely. I think jump on now, because if you jump on, we're all going to get what we want, which is more and better. So if you jump on now, you'll jump in at the beginning. You'll get a really solid experience, even if you don't have the history behind the game, and you'll get an even upgraded version of what's to come in the future.
Yeah, sounds like if newcomers and fans jump on now, there'll be some more Star Fox in the future. I think that's a really good place to leave it. Joseph, thanks so much for joining me on this episode.
Yeah, always glad to talk about Star Fox, and really happy we got to highlight some indies as well.
Yeah, I'm glad we got to do that as well, especially like the first couple episodes were a lot of big blockbusters, which gets the views, but I'm glad to spotlight some indies as well.
Yeah.
As always, if you want more news, reviews, and previews, you can go to smashjump.com. Joseph, I'll see you next time.
Yeah, see you next time.